Hello, my name is Jessica Simmer, and today I will be teaching you how to fold a fitted sheet. There are many different techniques for how to do this, so the method that I will be teaching you is certainly not the only way how to fold a fitted sheet. The method that I know was taught to me by my mother, so there will likely be some variation between the method I will be teaching you and the method that you may or may not already know. I understand that for some of you, folding a fitted sheet is going to be an entirely new concept, so I will be walking through everything step by step. The tools that we're going to be needing will be a fitted sheet, or one that has that elastic band around the outside, and also your hands. Today I'm working with a sheet that has a pattern on one side and no pattern on the other side. If you have a sheet that is also like this, usually the pattern side is what's facing up when you have the sheet on your bed. You're going to want to have that pattern side facing you when you're folding it. So I'm just going to grab onto that elastic edge and shake the sheet out. So I have that elastic part facing me, I have the pattern part of the sheet facing me, and then the first thing that I will be doing for folding, putting my hand into a flat and rigid shape, and my fingertips are going to be going into the peak of one of the corners of the sheet. So I'm going to keep my hand in that flat and rigid shape, and my fingertips are all the way in the peak of one of those corners. I have that elastic band facing me, I have the pattern part of the sheet facing me. So now with my other hand, I can do the same thing, flat, rigid shape, all the way into the peak of the other corner. And I'm going to be working with a corner that's across, not diagonal, from the one that I already have on my hand. So I'm going to have my fingertips in the peak of this second corner, elastic band facing me, pattern part of the sheet still facing me. So now that I have those two corners on my fingers, I'm going to be bringing my hands together, and then using the fingertips from my right hand, I'm going to be pinching the sheet that's over my right hand and pinching the sheet that's over my left hand together. So I'm going to pinch both of those together, hold that firmly. Now with my left hand, I'm going to slide that back to the edge of the elastic here. And then my left hand is just going to bring this fabric up and over the top of my right hand. So now that I have both corners over my right hand, I can unpinch the sheets. And I'm going to keep my fingers in that flat and rigid shape. And I'm going to use my left hand to straighten out the sheet so that my right hand is in the peak of both of those two corners that are now over the top of my right hand. So now I'm going to use my left hand and I'm going to put it exactly where my right hand is right now. Just going to trade places. So I'm just going to put my left hand in there and free up my right hand. So before we can get to folding the next two corners, we have to straighten the sheet out. Because as you can see, it's kind of folded up and bunched together, and we can't really have that for folding the next two corners. So the way that we're going to be doing that is with the fabric that I currently have over my left hand, with that elastic facing me, I'm actually just going to put this right up onto my shoulder just to free up both of my hands for this next step. So I'm just going to bring this right up here, with that elastic right by my neck. My left hand is right here. So I'm just going to kind of wear it like a sleeve, drop my left hand, so the corners are going to stay together still because we already folded this, and then this will free up my left hand for the next step. This is just for ease of showing you how to do the next step, and also I find that it's much easier to do the next step if you're using two hands. So I'm going to take a step back so you can see a little bit better here, and I'm going to grab the elastic band just to hold it up so you can see what I mean. So this non-pattern part of the sheet is currently facing towards us. The elastic band of the sheet is kind of buried behind it. So what I'm going to do is just pick the sheet up from the bottom here and kind of push it through so that we just have that elastic band facing us. So now I have just the elastic band facing me, and the non-pattern part of the sheet is all the way on the inside. So then what I'm going to do with my right hand, I'm going to be working with this bottom corner here, not this one towards the front, but the one that's closest to me. And I'm going to put my hand into that flat and rigid shape, and my fingertips are going to be going right into the corner of the sheet. So I'll hold this up a little better so that you can see what I mean. And so the corner of the sheet is actually right here. So with my hand in a flat and rigid shape, I'm going to be putting it into this bottom corner with my hand on that pattern side. I'm going to be bringing my hand up So I'll have that elastic part of the sheet facing me, and the now non-pattern part is what's visible over the top of my hand. So now I can use this hand to put my corner of the sheet inside the other corner of the sheet. And since I have this part on my shoulder, I have both hands available to do this. I'm going to straighten the sheet out so that both of the corners are lined up. My fingers are in the peak of both of those corners, and now we have just that pattern part of the sheet on the outside. So I have two corners on my right hand. I still have these two corners up on my shoulder, so my left hand is going to come down and back inside, and we still have these two corners folded together. So I'm just going to lift that up and off of my shoulder, and that certainly isn't a technique you have to abide by, but I just find that it's much, much easier for getting these next two corners together, and also for teaching purposes, it makes the whole process a little bit easier. So now that I have two corners on this hand and two corners on this hand, and I have my sheet nice and lined up, I can bring it together, and then the fingers on my right hand are going to pinch the corners together, so I have all four corners pinched together right here, and my left hand, just like before, is going to slide back to that edge of the elastic, and I'm going to be bringing the fabric up and over the top of my right hand. So I can unpinch my fingers, and now I have all four corners on my one hand. So with my left hand, I can straighten the sheet out to make sure that those corners are nice and aligned, and that my hand is in that peak of all four of those corners still. So now my left hand is going to come and take the place of my right hand. So I'm just going to slide that in, take my right hand out, so now my left hand is in that flat and rigid shape with my fingertips all the way in the peak of all four corners. And I still have that elastic band closest to me, and the pattern part of the sheet is on the outside. So now my right hand is going to come under just the edge of the elastic here where my left arm is. I'm going to move out to the side here to the end of the fabric. So if I hold the sheet up opposite of you, you can see that along the top here I have a straight line. Along the bottom I have a relatively straight line. And this is what you want to have for your sheet before you begin the next few folds. If, for instance, the sheet was kind of crooked, so if I move my right hand to show you, so if it was crooked along the bottom, you would just want to adjust where your right hand is holding the sheet until it straightens out. So my left hand is still in the peak of all four of these corners here, with it keeping it rigid so that when I pull the sheet apart, it makes a really nice corner. So I'm going to move my right hand a little bit so that the sheet is even across the top, even across the bottom. So now I'm going to be bringing this hand and my left hand together, but because I want to have all of that elastic on the inside of the sheet when I fold it, I'm going to be bringing the sheet towards myself. So my right hand and my left hand are going to be coming together. And then using my right hand, I'm going to pinch all four of these corners and the fabric that's in my right hand together. And then my left hand is going to be coming up. And then the middle part of where the sheet is folded, my left hand is going to be going in there, grasping it, and then straightening it out. So now I have my right hand holding all four of the corners and then opposite side of the sheet. My left hand is now holding that middle part where we already folded. And then what we're going to be doing to get that rest of that elastic inside of the sheet is just kind of tucking it in there. So the easiest way that I find to do that is when I'm doing my next fold towards the middle. So I'm just going to bring these two hands together again. And I'm just going to use my chin to press this to my chest to hold it into place. And then I'm going to tuck this elastic just right onto the inside. So there's a few folds here, and so this is just where the elastic already was. So I'm just tucking that in there. So that way from the front, the sheet is very nice and flat and none of that elastic is visible. So now that I have that sheet folded together, I'm just going to be folding the sheet horizontally now that I have it folded vertically. And it doesn't matter if you're folding it towards you or away from you at this point. And because this is a thicker sheet, rather than folding it into fourths, I'm going to fold it into thirds. So one fold, another fold, and there you have it. This is a fitted sheet, and it is folded into a nice square so that it can be space saving. It is aesthetically pleasing, and now this way, once you unfold your sheet, it will have minimal wrinkles. I hope you found this video to be enjoyable and helpful, and I thank you for watching.